with the class for my students, and then we will definitely get going. So welcome everyone to our Wednesday morning Global Leader class, in which we look at the idea of how to be an effective and successful person and leader in a very complex and volatile world. And we have some amazing guests that inspire us, including, here comes one sort of inspiring guest. Our president is coming right now, okay? He's about to join us with many others, and it's always great. But Don, take your time. You know, we're not starting until 10:30, so if you need to do, I'm just getting my students ready, okay? But yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, today we got a big class. I mean, you're going to meet somebody really inspiring, our president, and I can tell you about him in a moment, who's going to be retiring shortly. So we really need to give him some time to interact with all of you. But essentially, for my students, as you hopefully saw in the announcement for today's class at DC Connect, today we're doing a class that's part of something bigger at the college. It's called DC Talks. And that means that we are part of a campus-wide event. Come on in. We're just getting set up. And we're doing a whole class on AI today with 4 accomplished guests who will be led by our president and supported by me and Mayreen in this class. And the idea for Connor and for Christina and Sanjanaben and Nikhil and, you know, all of the students in Global Leader is that we take leadership really seriously at Durham College. That's why you see this here, and that's why we built this room. And so you're going to meet some young. Come on in. You're going to meet some young Durham College graduates, mostly, as well as others, who are just a little ahead of you in terms of that they've graduated, they have started to do well in the professional world, they may have traveled elsewhere, or they may have stayed close to home, but what they're demonstrating is leadership, forward-looking thinking, and this idea of being a global graduate. That's what we do at the college, is we take that seriously. We are producing a generation of global graduates. So today you're going to meet some really inspiring younger people that you've sort of met so far, but you're going to meet more of them today, and you're going to also have a chance to interact with our president, who will host the class, and he's the one who's built this room and this center and everything. So there's a lot of forward-looking thinking today. And so let me just make sure I can check in with all of my students for a moment and see. I just want to do a quick tech test. We seem to be pretty good, and then I'm going to come to Mayreen in a moment. I see one of our guests has joined us, Tejas. Is it Tejas Vallas? Do you want to just confirm that? Sorry, go ahead.
It's Tejas.
Tejas, okay, Tejas. Thank you. So correct me. This classroom is filled with so much diversity. The names are always interesting, but sometimes I need to make sure I repeat them, get them correctly pronounced. Okay, so everything's working there for audio. Hi, Nikhil, Navpreet, Christina, and anyone else. Do you have any questions? Connor, do you have any questions? Any questions from my students? Christina, do you have anything anything on your mind at this point before we start getting ready for the 10:30 blast off with our guests? And want to grab a seat here? Come, yeah, excellent. Okay, you good, Christina? Are you there on planet C? Is it?
I'm good.
Good. Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, if you have anything you want to say at this point, you know the drill. You can jump on your microphone. You can park your comment in the live chat. We'll take that all up. I just wanted to check in with Mayreen as well, and then we're going to start getting really set up for our guests, because Amanda's already here in person, but we have guests who are joining us online. How's it going?
Going good. Hello, everybody. We're live here from Oshawa in the Rotary Global Classroom. I'm very excited for the class that we'll have today.
Any news on World Expo? Anything that you've
Um, Update is that a lot of the pavilions, different countries, so I know Germany for sure, they are looking to hire already people for the next World Expo. So people like, to help with the running of the pavilion and probably in-house, so like greeting the guests, all of that.
and Canada and the Canadian Pavilion has already been. So just be aware that Mayreen and I are beginning to prepare a presentation that we're planning to give at the World Expo 2025 in Osaka, Japan, which is the sort of like the Olympics of science and technology and engineering, and we want to demonstrate to them that we have, the classroom for the future. And we've been developing this with the college, and we're ready, I think, to really make some history in education and show that we have the multimedia, live, flexible, super flex classroom for humanity. So Mayreen has a background with the World Expo and has helped with this. So we've got lots to work on, right? That's great. Okay. So for my students, the Global Leader students, what I'd like you to do is think about, for the moment, the idea of what artificial intelligence means for your future, good and bad. And I think you're going to see a lot of good today. You're going to see a lot of what we call infinite possibilities with artificial intelligence. Think of the questions you may want to ask of our president, of the guests who will be joining us, Amanda as well. The one thing that the college that we've been doing, that you probably have seen around the college in different departments and faculty and senior management, is we are getting ahead with artificial intelligence. We're saying to everybody, don't be afraid of it. There's a lot of, dystopian thinking about AI, but it's an amazing tool. It's a powerful tool. It's very current, and the ones who get ahead with it and build things with it are going to be creating the future. So think about what you may want to ask of others. But other than that, we're not starting officially till 10:30. But why don't I, since our president is here, and hopefully for the whole class, do you want to grab a seat, or are you ready to, come over here and, we'll slowly get ready and. Okay, so why don't you go over to there, and we'll keep this. So this is Don. This is you. We're going to support over here. This is for Amanda over here. This is for you. There's okay. So yeah, and then Holly. Great. And we're not going to start officially till 10:30 with our group. So we're essentially getting ready, but we're live right now. We're live on YouTube, as always. We're live, and so we want to make sure everything is working. But it is. I've blown up. I mean, I've inflated the planet here. Okay, so
I still have the foam ones that you used to hand out, Lon.
yeah,
The little foam ones,
that's
right?
right. Yeah. Well, and we've gotten a little bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We all have, yes.
Oh, great. So we have two. Okay. So we need to give him, or you can pass the microphone to each other. Okay. So let's just make sure we're properly set up with everything. And for those of you who are joining in person, is it possible you could move in? Because if you look behind you at the screen behind you, that's what everybody sees. The world sees. We create a sense of community here for everybody online. So is it okay if you come in, or if you don't want to, fair enough, just sit. We'll see the back of your heads here, but at least the people online feel that there's people here and they're interacting with the class. So that's really critical. And I'll just show you one other little thing we have set up for everybody is that every so often we will go over to Maureen and you can see the camera goes over there and we're full screen and she can take notes and, you know, we chat. So really, if everything works technically the way it should, this class should feel very different and very contemporary and very much of the future. That's what we're doing here. So, okay, so let's bring that camera back and make sure we have everything. We can see the backs of, yeah, and if there's anybody who feels they want to come into the couch here, we get a lot of interaction going. So don't be shy. This space gets a lot of energy going with
Steven,
interaction.
There we go.
Yeah, nice. So you'll see. Don knows the drill very well. This is great. We still have 5 minutes to go before we officially blast off, but I'm going to suggest that since things are working and we're connected and everybody's here, that we'll start earlier. Why not? Is that okay?
All set, Lon. Anytime you like.
Yeah, okay, so let me make sure everything else has been, we've got Maureen's good over there. We've got our live chat going here. We can see everybody here. By the way, just so you know, this is not for the online participants a Zoom call. The class is not set up for multiple squares that you see of each other. Nobody wants to share their camera anymore. There's a lot of fatigue around this, and we understand that. So for the online participants, what you're going to see the whole time, essentially, is this space. I've made it that way. I've defaulted you to this space. So when you come into this room, this space, you see us and you see everything the way everybody here sees it, okay? If somebody wants to share their video, we can make that full screen and we can do the normal Zoom thing. But other than that, I can see right now there are no video squares being shown. So that's okay. It's what happens here that's critical. Great. Then I would like to have the honor of welcoming our president,
Thank you, Lon.
Don Lavisa. And I say this, with real sincerity, is that you're going to be really missed. You're leaving, you're retiring, and I hope that the people here who have created this, all the people here it's in good hands. The college is in good hands.
Thank you, Lon.
Okay?
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
So welcome, everybody.
go ahead.
Always a treat for me to do these alumni sessions, alumni series, DC Talks. And I love this topic, the power of infinite possibilities, Gen AI. And as Lon said earlier, Durham College took a very positive look at AI. When ChatGPT hit the marketplace, we sat down and said, how do we embrace it? How do we benefit from it? How do we use it in our classrooms? How do we use it in our work? And nice to see Amanda here this morning because she was part of a large group of people that took a look at that question. And we're in a very good place as a college around Gen AI and the tools that we now provide to our faculty, which in turn are going to be provided to our students as well. So an exciting topic for me, something that's, I love using it. I think it's a wonderful tool and the possibilities are definitely infinite. So, I mean, it's wonderful. But to start us in a good way today, I would like to start by a land acknowledgement. So Durham College is situated on the traditional lands of the First Peoples of the Mississaugas and Squamish Island First Nation. These lands are covered under the Williams Treaty and rest within the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the Indigenous people who care for and through the treaty process share the lands on which we live, learn, teach, and prosper today. So welcome to everybody. It's amazing to watch ChatGPT and different Gen AI tools and how quickly they've become just part of our lives. And you look at, within a very short period of time, there's hundreds of millions of users across the globe that are now using these tools. So today is a great conversation to see from our alumni and also our staff perspectives. Where are we going with this? And we have some great questions for them. So we have 4 guests today, and I'm pleased to welcome Roop Gill. And Roop is a senior field service associate at Sanctuary AI with his head office in Vancouver, BC. She works from her home in Calgary. And she's a graduate of the 2020 Chemical Laboratory Technician program. So welcome to Roop. We also have Shane Graham, and Shane is a director of software engineering at the INVYZN Solutions. There must be a way to pronounce that. Co-founder of Geosoft, founder of VYPI, and currently the chair of the Computer Program Advisory Committee for Durham College. Shane graduated in 2013 of the Computer Program Analyst Program. We also have Tejas Vyas. Tejas is a principal investigator for Durham College AI Hub and is currently finishing his Doctor of Philosophy in Computer Science at Toronto Metropolitan University with a focus on computer vision. Kind of sounds exciting. He's a recent grad from the 2021 from the Artificial Intelligence Analyst Program. And of course, we have Amanda Matnick, and Amanda is a special guest on our panel today and is representing the college's Center for Teaching and Learning. Amanda has played a key role in establishing one of the most comprehensive AI resources in the college system and in Canada, and it's right here at Durham College. So as our mission said, we are leading the way, and we truly are leading the way. So welcome to all. So I'll invite each of the panelists to introduce yourselves, take 2 or 3 minutes and tell us where you live, where you work, what do you do on your job, and what do you like best about the work that you do? So let's start with Roop.
Roop, is Roop online with us?
Yes. Hi.
Great.
Welcome.
Thank
Is it
you. Thank you, Don.
Are you okay? Roop, would you be able to show your video? If not, we won't push for it, okay?
I have it on.
Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Everybody okay?
No, we can hear you good, so just use your voice. We're good.
We'll do a sketch of your face while we're listening.
We'll imagine what you look like. How's that?
Most important- Okay, go ahead.
Let me try again, and then I'll
It's
just.
okay. Don't worry about it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hi. My name is Roop Gill, and I'm part of the commercial team at Sanctuary AI, which, by the way, is this super cool tech company based in Vancouver. And it was founded by the brilliant minds of Suzanne Gildert and Jordy Rose. Working here is honestly a blast. Every day I get to collaborate with some of the most talented and knowledgeable folks you could imagine. And they're not just experts in their field. They're genuinely passionate about what they do. And believe it or not, it's contagious. And what I love most about my job is, well, it's the energy and the ideas that are always bouncing around. There's never a dull moment. And we're all about pushing boundaries and exploring new possibilities with AI and robotics. And it's like being part of this exciting sci-fi movie, but it's actually real life. And the best part is that I get to contribute to something that's shaping the future. And it's not just about the tech. It's about how we're going to change the world with it. And knowing that I'm part of this journey is just incredible. So yeah, that's a little bit about me and my work. It's challenging, inspiring, and so much fun.
We can hear it in your voice, Roop. So thank you for the introduction. You can absolutely hear it in your voice, the excitement, enthusiasm, and the dedication to what you're doing. So let's go to Shane. Shane, want to introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, so I'm Shane Graham. I'm the Director of Software Engineering at Envision. We handle fleet management solutions, so anything from dash cams, vehicle tracking, asset tracking, relatively big data. And one of my things I love about my work is the technology. Because we're in a fast-paced work environment, I'm able to try new things like generative AI and push those products onto my customers and my colleagues.
Wonderful. So that's how you say INVYZ, Envision. My English is really poor, I guess. I didn't get that from that at all, but is is very creative. So thank you for that very much. So Tejas, would you please introduce yourself?
So, hey Don, hey everyone in the global classroom. I'm Tejas Vyas. Don already told a little bit about me. I'm a principal investigator right here at Durham College at AI Hub. That's one of the few things I do. In addition to this, I also am finishing my doctoral program at Toronto Metropolitan University in computer vision. And I lead mobile development at a firm in Midtown Toronto called Preference North America. My work is pretty varied. For AI Hub, I deal with a lot of machine learning and deep learning uh, projects where we try to solve a lot of small problems and major problems, depending on what kind of industry partners we try to talk to and their needs. Uh, at my research work, I'm doing a bit more theoretical part of things where I'm looking into computer vision algorithms and trying to sort of make AI see and just try to kind of propel the deep learning field a bit forward. It includes, I've been working a little bit on generative AI myself during my doctoral program as well, trying to color things from grayscale things. And finally, for my day job, I make mobile applications. So a little bit here and there. What I love especially about my job here at AI Hub is the different diaspora of projects that I do. Quite a lot of things that we work on here at Durham College, and we never get to share that many things with you. So I'm very glad to get this opportunity to kind of showcase a little bit of those ideas and tell you a bit more about generative AI and how we actually use it in Durham College. And hopefully, with you guys on board, you guys would be taking a few lessons, some tips, and hopefully it will help you progress further in your career.
Thank you very much for the introduction. So who in the room has been to the AI Hub? Most of the room has been there before, so great place to be and hang out. So last but not least, Amanda, who are you?
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Machnick. I am the Associate Dean of Teaching, Learning, and Program Quality in Durham's Center for Teaching and Learning. And as far as I'm concerned, I have the very best job on campus. I manage I manage 3 different teams that brings together both students and faculty in the institution. And that's what really makes it wonderful, is I have the opportunity to help faculty shape what it is that they're doing in the classroom in terms of instructional practices, assessment and evaluation, active learning, now generative AI. And I also get to work with the team that oversees student academic support. So in our student academic learning services, how they can support students in learning generative uses for generative AI in their learning practices, but also in the classroom as well, studying and whatnot. So my involvement, actually, we were lucky enough to be offered a grant from the president's office to do some investigation into different generative AI tools that are being used across the industry. And we brought together 15 representatives that spanned every single one of our academic faculties. And in some cases, we had more than one from different faculties. And they were tasked to play. And that was the most wonderful outcome that we had, was that faculty were getting the opportunity to really dig their fingers in, see what different Gen AI tools have to offer, how they can be used in instructional practice, how students might use them in their studying or in their learning practices, and how we might be able to leverage that and provide resources and support for both faculty and students in using them in the teaching and learning space. So that's why my job is the best, because I get to bring together both faculty and students.
And that's wonderful. Always nice when you hear your employees love their jobs. So anyway, so while you have the microphone, let's kick things off with you as well. So give us a brief description of Gen AI so everyone has a general understanding of what it is that we're talking about today. Then we'll go around to the panel and ask some other questions.
Absolutely, thanks. So generative artificial intelligence is not new on the scene, but it has definitely exploded in the area of education, specifically in higher education. And it was something we really see came forward in January of this year. Generative artificial intelligence is a branch of artificial intelligence, and it's unique in the fact that it learns and it can actually create unique new content. And so that content can be in text form, it can be in graphical format, it can be videos, it can be music, it can be any number of things. And so it differs from artificial intelligence in that it learns based on its initial programming, but then it learns from the user. It's really programmed to make you happy, do what you want it to do. And so the more you use it, the more personalized it becomes and the more dedicated it becomes to your specific goals. And so it will continue to build and learn and develop according to what it is that you ask for it to do. It does pull data from the internet and from different resources that it has access to, but really the primary piece of it is that it generates new content, new materials, which standard artificial intelligence does not do.
That's a great definition. So with that definition, let's go to our panelists and ask them the question. Tell us some ways this new technology is being used in your workplace. So because I can see Shane sitting beside me, I'll start with Shane and then I'll go to the two online. Shane?
Thank you. So it started off with just myself using generative AI. I'm the most technical person at my company. And when it came out, I got pretty excited. I started using it for absolutely everything. So I was emails, I'd get it to write up emails, just general documents. And what I found was for higher level things, it worked exceptionally well. So writing up scope of work documents, writing up API documentation, even planning. So like it could plan out a project pretty well, and then I'd just overview it and approve it essentially. And it was cutting my time down drastically. So it helped a lot on that kind of soft area of my job. In the beginning, I was a little worried about using it for code as well, and same with people at my company. But we're finding that we can easily build out small scripts that it wouldn't be perfect, but it would get us to a point where we could then go in and manipulate it to be exactly what we want. So we started using it for coding as well. And then now even the non-technical people at my company, so marketing, operations, they're starting to use it as well for general emails and documentation and stuff like that.
How do you validate that it's accurate, that it's correct, that it's not sort of just sort of feeding you a whole bunch of lies?
So most of the stuff, I try to stick to it doing things that I already know. So I'm just trying to keep it to speed up my own development. So usually, in most cases, I validate it myself. When it comes to code, it's something I just test it. So I have it up there, I read it, I make sure I think it's going to work, I run it. If it runs, great. If it doesn't run, I either fix it manually or reprompt ChatGPT to do it. I've stuck away from something like Autopilot, which has access to my actual source code, but with the actual ChatGPT, it's been very good with getting things up. And then if it's something like you've seen these cases online where it's like giving fake book names or something, you definitely have to double check any reference material it's trying to give you. But when it comes to it speeding up your own work, something that you can do yourself, then it's very useful.
Thank you very much. So, Tejas, you want to answer the same question? Tell us ways in which this new technology is being used specifically in your workplace.
And I just wanted to add,
So,
Tejas, before you answer, I just want to let everyone know who's here. We are going to be taking questions later and interacting, but please listen now, jot down anything. You have Maureen's notes right behind us to help you, but for a while, Dawn is going to interact with the guests, and then we're going to really get going. Okay, thanks. Go ahead. So Tejas, please go ahead.
so yeah, I have two different, actually, all three of my workplaces use generative AI in some capacity. Let me start with the first position with Durham College at AI Hub. This is the most varied use of generative AI that we use. We have different projects where we are working with large language models for a lot of purposes. It could be to interact with customers within a store setting. It could be to interact with different people, to provide them counseling. It could be to actually just think of different ways that we can utilize it, like making music with it even. So generative AI with AI Hub is very, very broad. And we actually take pride in so much work that we are doing with generative AI and different kinds of facets that we are using it with. In my PhD, I'm very specific about the way that I use generative AI. And for that, I specifically just work with images part because my research is in computer vision. We usually use generative AI techniques and even make new ones to either generate new images or take existing images, fill them with color, and basically just look at the best way to achieve all of those results. And finally, at my workplace, it's a code environment. It's very similar to how Shane mentioned. We started initially just looking at generative AI to review emails, but now we are reaching a point where we also kind of refactor code with it. Very old code that's written in obsolete languages, we are able to refactor it, and while it's not fully accurate, it gives us a starting point. It cuts down the time that it takes to actually refactor a project by 50 or 60% very easily. So just a few of them, but yeah, there's a lot of potential cases, and every day I see it being used in a way that I've never thought before.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, for academic papers, it's nice to tell it to take all of your sources and put an APA format, and it does it beautifully for you, actually. It's one of those tools on the toolbox, isn't it, Amanda? So, okay, Roop, it's your turn. So tell us some ways you use this new technology in your workplace.
Awesome. So for me, I think personally, I've just been using it as a personal assistant, I would say. Kind of like doing really repetitive tasks, like writing emails, creating SOPs, and with the ChatGPT's newer version, it can actually look at data and then actually analyze it and then give you results. So that's been really helpful. So I would definitely say that it's more like something like you can use personally for things like that. So you no more need to do all of these tasks, and you can actually focus on the real work. Other than that, at my work, I think we use the same way, ChatGPT and Rimini, and just to kind of integrate with already existing tools that we used to use, like Confluence and everything, Altizen, and they have already integrated themselves with the AI. So you don't even have to get new tools. You can actually use their inbuilt AI now, and schedule meetings, automate actually the Altizen to automate those meetings, make notes, and then create insights for you. So basically, it's just been really helpful in all of these tasks, and it's definitely increased my productivity and the company's. So yeah.
Thank you. While you're on the screen here, so I have 4 questions, one for each of you. They're long questions. So if you have a pen, grab a pen, and I'll repeat the question. I didn't write these questions, by the way, but they are lengthy. And Roop, we're going to stick with you. So the question is, you are a graduate of the Chemical Laboratory Technician program. What led you to a career path change to work for Sanctuary AI? And how is Gen AI contributing to the advancement of general robots? And what are some examples of AI-driven innovations in this field from your company? And then just look to the future with that question. And where do you think is going to go in your industry? Did you get all that, or do you want me to repeat it? You got it. 2 thumbs up. All right, you're good.
Yeah. So thank you so much for the question. So Yeah, I would like to start with my journey. So my journey in Canada began as an international student at Durham College, a place I'm deeply grateful for. And it has laid the foundation for my career and my life in Canada. So after completing my program as the chemical lab tech at Durham College, I found myself often intersecting with the world of technology. So my daily tasks in the lab were increasingly influenced by tech advancements. So from automated data analysis to sophisticated lab equipment powered by software. So this intersection sparked a curiosity in me about the broader tech landscape and its potential impact. So, realizing the importance of technology in modern science, I began to explore it further. And I started with online courses in basic programming and data analytics during my spare time, which was like a self driven learning phase for me, which was challenging yet incredibly rewarding, I would say. And the more I've learned, the more I've understood how technology could elevate my day to day life. And I would say the pivotal moment in my career came when I joined Sanctuary. So, working alongside with incredibly talented individuals who were deeply immersed in the world of tech and AI has been a transformative experience. So it is actually here that I truly grasped the magnitude of what technology could achieve. So this environment has not only fostered my growing passion for tech, but also significantly influenced my decision to deepen my knowledge. And it has also led me to continue my studies in computer science. So now, while I can't delve into specifics about Sanctuary AI due to confidentiality, I can certainly share some insights into the broader field of AI and robotics. So, like I've done some of the research on AI because it's just skyrocketed in terms of its popularity. But fun thing is that it has been around since the mid 20th century, but it's only recently become really advanced. And it is solely because of the reason that computers are now much more powerful and can handle a lot more information than they used to back in the day. So AI can learn from this information and make those decisions. It's almost like it has its own brain now, and it can actually think. And by think, I mean like the way you think. It can actually think now and learn from the experiences. So I believe going forward, AI is expected to become even more clever and useful in our everyday lives, which will be changing the way we do many things. Uh, and one of the key points I want to drive home is that AI isn't here to take away jobs. It's rather a tool that will evolve how we work. And in fact, I've heard this so many times that AI won't replace your job, but but someone who knows AI will. So this isn't just a catchy phrase. There's truth behind it. So there's studies that show that the demand for AI skills is skyrocketing. So, for example, according to the World Economic Forum, by 2025, 85 million jobs may be displaced by a shift in labor between humans and machines. But 97 million new roles may emerge that are more adapted to this new division of labor. So, looking to the future, the integration of general AI in robotics promises to transform our lives, industries, and the workforce, from personalized education to more efficient manufacturing processes. And the possibilities are limitless. And we've kind of just scratched the surface right now. So I believe this is an exciting time to be in the field, and the skills you're acquiring now can position you at the forefront of this technological revolution. So if you're someone who has embarked on this journey, I would just say remember your passion coupled with the right skills can open up a world of opportunity. And the future of AI and robotics is not just about what machines can do, but it's about what we can do with these machines. And I would like to conclude by saying that this is a rapidly evolving landscape. And in my opinion, the most valuable skill you can possess is the ability to learn and to adapt.
Love your answer. Optimistic, futuristic. It's wonderful. And I agree with you. I think it's going to really change the world, and there's huge opportunities for us and for our students. And Lon has a comment.
Just to say in the live chat, is it Syed? I hope I pronounced that correctly. Great comments. We're going to come to them. So keep parking ideas in the live chat. We will get there, but we want to let Dawn and the guests.
We got 3 more questions. The next one is for Tejas. So, how has Gen AI evolved and influenced the field of artificial intelligence, and what breakthroughs or advancements are you most excited about? Second part of the question is, what challenges or ethical considerations does the integration of general AI pose in the AI field, and how can we address that? Do you get that, or do you want me to repeat it?
Yep, I got it.
Thank you.
So generative AI and its evolution is something that I've kind of seen in the front line itself. As Roop mentioned, it has been around for a long time. It has evolved with time, a little bit here and there, but within the last, I think, 5 years or so, with the new computational capacity and the infrastructure that has been introduced, it has grown exponentially. Exponentially is a shorter term for it at this point. But I have actually seen how the work has changed with time for AI in general. So I will talk about a little bit on a history of AI, and then try to kind of relate it back to the current generative AI landscape. So in the past, AI and AI models used to, well, they still are, but they specifically used to be very dedicated. The work that we did, even my very initial work with AI Hub, and the work that I did when I was studying AI at Durham College, we were focused more on making individually catered models. So we would perhaps create a model that is capable of understanding sentiment from Twitter, now X, and just try to get sort of an idea of what people are looking for, how they are feeling based on certain amount of text. Now, this itself is a huge task, but this is not something where AI is generating anything. It's just identifying individual things. With time, we saw this move more to computer vision as well, where we were diagnosing images, like patient reports and different medical imaging that's available, and actually trying to figure out what kind of potential outcomes there are. It could be surgery outcomes, it could be diagnosis outcomes. But with time, we have reached a point where I think generative AI no longer just be a specific tool, just doing one task, but getting more and more towards the potential goal of AGI, which is the actual like general intelligence that can be used regardless of the situation. And now, just to compare the past to the present, we no longer do predictions with sentiment analysis. Not as much. We still prepare models for it, but now we have ChatGPT. You can pop in a question in it. You can pop in uh, a specific set of data in it, and it's able to tell you whether or not that specific set of data or paragraph contains a certain sentiment. And it can even tell you how to respond back to it, which is pretty amazing. And then talking more about evolution, literally maybe last few weeks, uh, OpenAI has released a new model called GPT-4V, which is a multimodal variant. That's essentially a model which is able to not only talk or listen, but also able to see. So you can not only type in it, but also add images to it. Now, that opens up a whole new list of ways that it could be utilized, and we are seeing how it's being used to do simpler things. It could be just to fix a bicycle tire. Just take a picture of the bike tire and actually try to figure out how to solve it without explaining the entire detail of it. In my workplace specifically, we are also working with multimodal models now, trying to not only use an image from an MRI scan or something to predict the surgery outcomes, but also to take a few more things like patient reports, give more context to the model to get better results, more accurate results. Similar things I'm also seeing within the industry as well, uh, where we had individual models, like you would just have a way to drive a self-driving. Uh, it would also be able to now pick in more and more things within the model itself, uh, and kind of pass in additional details from the sensors as well, and not just the vision itself. So generative AI is taking hints from all of these leaps and trying to be sort of a person who is the closest term to the expert system. You are able to actually talk to this expert system, share different things, and based off of it, it is able to create things which is able to fulfill several of the things that you would want to do, whether you want to create a new image, a new music, a new video, uh, a text field, everything. And that's where I foresee it to be going, where it will get better at generalizing, but at the same time, allowing people to also pick tasks and focus on them. In terms of the challenges, we have quite a few. This is a new and evolving field. I can give one example of academia where we still don't have a way to detect plagiarism. We have ways to actually get an understanding of how close a given text is to being plagiarized, but there is no direct answer to it. And this is just a utility of it, not even training part. Um, However, with time, we are finding models which are able to figure out what's wrong and what's right. And we are trying to slowly figure out and fix the challenges that we are running into. Things like biased data sets, where when you train an AI, you have to give it a lot of data. Where this data comes from? Is this data copyrighted? Did we take appropriate permissions? All of these are the main challenges that not only people in the field, but governments and pretty much every departmental board is currently contemplating how to deal with. And these are just like a few concerns, a very initial set of concerns that AI poses. But we're working towards it. With every passing week, we see thousands of papers um, and hundreds of new applications of the AI that could potentially help us navigate through all of these landscape or landmines of challenges and ethical issues.
Thank you very much. It's a great segue answer to the next question for Shane as well, as we go from using the tools, so behind the scenes as far as programming. So Shane, you play an interesting role working in the computer programming field, and you also serve as a chair of our computer programmer program advisory committee. How do you envision the future of programming, considering the capabilities of Gen AI? And what advice would you give aspiring programmers entering this changing landscape? And the second part of your question also looks at the ethical considerations for programmers and developers, and what should they be aware of with using AI generative tools?
So, uh, with generative AI, I think it's going to be in everyone's day-to-day life. It's just bursted on here. It's like the last thing that happened like this is the internet itself. So everyone's going to be using it. It's going to make us all more efficient. It is, it's going to be great, essentially. Now there is the part with students, and I've talked about it in the program advisory committee, and it's come up the last 3 meetings, I believe, on how are they going to use this. And when you're looking at generative AI, you have to figure out what your purpose is first. So if the purpose is to learn, you should be prompting it in a way that you learn. So instead of just giving out code blocks and doing your assignments for you, and in college, ChatGPT is more than capable to do pretty much everything that's going to be on the curriculum. You're never gonna be smarter than generative AI. So there's no you're just gonna have like a menial position. There's no logic there. So I would say with students, they should make sure that they're asking for step-by-steps, or they're asking for explanations on the actual code that's being put out. And they'll have much easier time. And then with ethics, there's 2 parts. The first one is more for the actual people, like you, me, the students. When you're using generative AI, you have to think about what I just said. So it's important to it's important to think about what you're doing. It's important to get the code out.
I just wanted to say
So
thank you.
just expand on the word
Yeah.
prompt. What do you mean prompt?
So prompt, I mean like asking the question to ChatGPT.
So expand on that
So
for people that don't know what that is. So how do you ask it a question?
so you'd essentially say, hey, I need X, Y, and Z. So an example would be, I'm trying to code this function. I'm giving it I'm giving it this data. I want this output. It will go through it'll generate all that code for you, and then you can reprompt. So you test the code, you read it, you see where it's at, and then you reprompt it. So you're like, the data actually doesn't match. I have this data set that I'm passing it. I'm expecting this data set. Here's where I think you're wrong, and then you reprompt it, and it will give you more information.
So you're challenging it to give you the right information. Yes.
Yeah, and when you're prompting, at least in my use, the way I use it is, I know generally what it should do. I know where it should go, and it's just faster than me.
Are you having fun?
I haven't talked in front of this many people in person in 3 years.
You programmers are used to being behind the scenes, aren't you? You're doing a good job.
Well, when you're on the actual camera, in Zoom calls, you can kind of ignore everybody. It's a little bit easier.
Hard to do it here, isn't it?
And then I've gotten a little complacent with having notes on all my screens. So, but
It's like the old days of school, notes on your palm of the hands, right? Stuff
Yeah,
like that. So yeah,
exactly.
okay.
And then with ethics, we have to look at copyright. So we don't know where our code is coming from. So when we generate code, it could be coming from a copyrighted source material. We're putting our trust into the companies that are providing that service, that they're sourcing their data in an ethical manner. So we need to think about that. And the other thing is, there's a debate going on about who owns it. So if you generate the code and you're just stamping it, is that really your company's code? So like there's a famous study where, or a case where an animal took a picture, a monkey took a picture of like a scenery, and the person who owned the camera tried to claim copyright on that picture, but it ended up losing the case against it because a person didn't do it, and an animal can't have copyright, and it was the animal that pressed the button and generated that content. So that's the question that I see being an issue with code. So if you're putting in 100% computer generated, or like an AI generated code, is that code really copyrightable by your company?
Thank you for that. And so this is a great question for Amanda to jump on to also, but you have the longest question. So here we go, okay?
Can someone take notes?
So we know you're directly involved in the Center for the creation of the JI. I'll start that again. Directly involved in creation of the Gen AI website for the faculty as part of the Center for Teaching and Learning. We know that, okay. We know that there are resounding concerns about generative AI and its impact on the education sector and student learning as well. What are your thoughts about this? And how is DC navigating this for both faculty and students? And what are some of the challenges or hurdles you are hearing about in higher education surrounding the whole Gen AI topic? You got all that?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
for sure. So I'm sure many people here know that Gen AI, specifically ChatGPT, really wasn't on the radar of educators or higher education up until Christmas-ish of last year. So November, ChatGPT really became prominent in news and in initiatives. And so we came back from Christmas vacation, and a lot of people here have heard me refer to this before as Chicken Little syndrome. And so we came back to a lot of educators who were very, very concerned. Sky is falling. Education's never going to be the same. We're never going to know if our students actually are doing their own work, are understanding what it is that we're explaining to them, are producing their own, or generating their own knowledge. And so this was something that came in fast and furious. And so the Centers for Teaching and Learning across the world were now tasked with, now what do we do? And so the most prevalent concern that we had, and that was being expressed to us from faculty, was around the assessment piece of things. And so that is really the foundation that we built resources from and we built support from. And I absolutely adore the fact that a number of my guest panelists have called this a revolution, because it really truly is. It is a technical revolution, but it's also an educational revolution. And this is something that we really, really need to grasp and understand. This is an opportunity. It's a really exciting time to be an educator if we can get outside of the space of really being concerned with what's happening. It's our opportunity to revisit how we are educators, what our standards are, what our expectations are. And a lot of educators, in the absence of knowing how to teach something, will revert back to how they were taught in that specific topic or context. And so now we're challenged with stepping outside of that. We all have our comfort zones, right? We have, as educators, you know, you have your box you like to sit in, you know what types of assessments have worked for you in the past, what types of educational initiatives have worked in the past, activities. Now, those things won't work anymore necessarily. No longer can we rely on the essay to be a demonstrator of knowledge. No longer can we rely on, say, short answer questions or take-home tests for students to do. And it's challenging us to be creative in what it is that we're doing in the classroom. And that's the most profound piece, is stepping outside of that box and being willing to take a risk. And largely, the impact on students is foundational with the faculty. We have the opportunity to frame what it is that they're doing in the classroom, and that will help shape how it is that those individual students move forward. So, for example, we know that Gen AI is going to become a very profound player in the world of work in any number of ways, in all of the industries, in all of the places. And so now educators are tasked with preparing our students for being able to be work ready and future proof in regards to taking their education outside of our hallowed halls. And so now educators need to put themselves in the position of students as well and think, what is it that I need to know? What do my students need to know? We need to bring in members of industry to tell us what's actually happening. And then prepare our students by teaching them how to use the Gen AI in those specific capacities, and in capacities that will expand their abilities when they move into work. So thinking about how they can be critical consumers of information that generative AI produces. We know that Gen AI hallucinates. We know that it invents resources, it invents references. Sometimes it produces biased data depending on who did the initial programming of the Gen AI. And a really critical key piece for our students is being able to look at that generated data and critically analyze it or check it. So go back and make sure, is this actually telling me the truth? And so teaching students to not rely 100% on what it is that's produced, but using it as a stepping stone. So we can use Gen AI in a variety of different ways to support learning in the classroom. And the most amazing thing about it is we can actually create individualized personal learning experiences for our students now. So I was working with a couple of faculty members, for example, who were spent months and months and months on generating 6 different activities to be distributed amongst the class as a whole. And when Gen AI came on the scene last winter, or profoundly came on the scene last winter, they were absolutely beside themselves because of all the work that they did. Now individuals have the opportunity to just put it in and fix it, and what it that there's no way of ensuring that they're not duplicating off each other, they're not copying from one another. So I gave them the recommendation, well, let's try ChatGPT, let's play around with it, let's program into it what you're looking for. So these 2 faculty members happen to teach in our communication stream, and so they were having students identify errors in writing. So things like grammatical errors and punctuation errors, textual errors. So I said, go in, let's ask it to do this for all 25 students. Give a different tool or a different paragraph for each of those 25 students to correct, and they do it in the class when you're doing it with them. And so they were actually able to produce those 25 different paragraphs in less than 5 minutes. And it was something that it had taken them many, 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 many weeks to do to generate 6. And so thinking about how we can actually use it to help our students learn in a way that's relevant and meaningful to them, not only as an individual, but in terms of their career aspirations and what it is that they're wanting to do once they leave with their credential. The one other thing that, in terms of thinking about the ethical piece of things, is we know academic integrity is a substantial concern for a lot of our faculty members. And so thinking about reframing assessment, how do we create assessments where integrity is inherent in the assessment itself? Sometimes we need to flip the assessments on the head. We give the product and we ask the students to produce the steps in getting there. We need to focus more on the process than the outcome or the actual product itself. The other piece that we really need to work with our students on is the prompt generation or the prompt engineering. It's remarkably difficult to write a prompt to get it to do exactly what you want it to do from step 1. And so prompt engineering is a skill set that students are going to need to develop in any area of education and industry. And so we inherently will initially interact with Gen AI the same way as we would if it was Google, right? We Google 5 words to try and get it to search something up for us. If you try to put that into Gen AI, it's not going to work. We need to understand that we need to talk to generative AI as if it's a person. We can use sentences, we can use idioms, we can ask it to do a variety of things in one go, and then go back and ask it to revise what it's produced for us. And so some of the really exciting things that are happening in the classrooms now are really foundationally grounded in generative AI. We have one faculty member in our Faculty of Business who's produced a marketing project where he has actually created prompts to program the generative AI tool to respond to questions the students put in based on a specific persona. So they can approach and get different information based on what that specific target market might be. And he can even say, okay, well, they only get to ask you 5 questions. And at the end of 5 questions, you've thought about something else you have to go and do. So it's really fascinating to see how things are interacting as we go. And I'd love to say that we have all of the answers, but the other exciting piece is we don't know what we don't know until we need to know it. And so when faculty come into the Center for Teaching and Learning or have your conversations with each other, that's our opportunity to say, oh, hey, that's not a problem we've encountered before, or that's not a task or a tool that anybody has asked about. So great, let's dive in 2 feet forward, see what we can produce out of it. And so it gives us an opportunity to learn also. Our students are using it in many different ways as well to support themselves and support their learning outside of the classroom. So you can actually ask generative AI to produce multiple choice quiz questions as a faculty member or as a student to help you study for an upcoming assessment. It can be used as a writing prompt to draft initial framework for a piece of writing. You can ask it to draft initial presentations. I have another faculty member that I'm working with who uses it to provide the foundation of her PowerPoint presentations for her classes each week. And so it creates an entire PowerPoint deck that she goes in and modifies and personalizes for her cohort of students. So going back to our resource that will help support all of this, we did produce a very comprehensive generative AI resource that is very DC proud. And it provides supports largely based for faculty right now, but those supports are currently being evolved into supports for students also. So things like, how do you cite the use of generative AI in MLA format or an APA format? All of these things are new on the scene. And to support our faculty as well, we've got resources in there to help them start conversations about Gen AI with students. Is generative artificial intelligence going to be permitted in your classrooms for learning activities, for assessments, or general use? There's language in there that will help them communicate that in a way that students are going to fully understand what the expectations are. And I guess the crowning glory of that resource is our catalog or guidebook that has all of the tools, and it will continue to evolve, all of the tools that have been explored to this date, what their benefits are, what their opportunities are, what they do, what classification they fall into. So are they text generators, image generators, sound generators? There's a variety of different options for faculty to explore if they're looking for something. And so they can just go in and have a look, decide what it is that they want to use it. If they're not sure how to use it, they can come ask us for help as well. But there's some really amazing things coming in the classroom.
Thanks, Amanda.
Go ahead,
So just 4 comprehensive questions, 4 comprehensive, intelligent, informed, and optimistic answers. So I want to thank all 4 of you for your answers, and incredible. And they all connected. When you look at all you said, they all connected. So it's nice to see that. We're going to go to some questions from the audience. And I ask that the audience, when you ask your question, is it directed to one individual? Is it directed to all the panels? And I would ask the panel to now start to rapid fire your answers. We can't take 4 more 10-minute answers. So a little more rapid fire so we can get a few questions, and also from this audience here. So tough role as a moderator, right? So Ron, do you have a question here from the group outside the
I'm
room?
just going to start by inflating the planet because it's starting to deflate a little bit, but we will inflate it with our thoughts, okay? But thanks. Okay, Syed, I mentioned to you to be ready. We're going to start taking questions online. I just wanted to introduce one word that I think is going to be very important when we move towards a conclusion. It comes from Stan Lee, who is a very important person in the world of graphic novels, Marvel Comics, and he loved the word Excelsior. The word Excelsior, probably some of you know, means onwards and upwards to greater glory. And he did believe that technology can take us there if we're smart. So thank you, Stan Lee. I would bring a picture up now, but I'm not so good at the tech yet to get it all up on the board, but getting there. Okay, so here we go. If there are any questions from my students, we're going to start as well. But Syed, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. And
Yes.
everything good there? Okay.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, Don. Hi,
Terrific.
everyone. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Basically, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this opportunity to be a part of your team for your discussion, which is AI, which I'm starting next year.
Yes.
I have two questions. One question is for everybody, all the participants, that what's the rapid rise of GAI technology in today's world, and other is thing what's how AI and artificial intelligence impact the HI. HI means human intelligence. So will it
Mm,
impact both of them?
What would you say is the critical question? So think for a moment, Syed, the one question, and we'll direct it to somebody. There's good content in there, but what would you like the one question to be critically?
The first question, which is what is the rapid rise of GAI in the technology?
And who would you like to direct it to? Anyone in particular?
Anybody, anybody of
Okay.
them, anybody can answer.
Well, how about Roop? Roop,
Yeah,
do you want to
go
come
ahead.
in and
Go
try
ahead.
and address this idea of the rapid rise of AI and maybe its impact on human intelligence? Is it going to make us dumber? Something like that? I don't know. Roop, you want to try?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the question, Sayed.
Thank you.
It's actually a great question because it's so new that everyone is trying to understand its scope. So I would say the rapidness of Gen AI is because of its popularity that's come about from OpenAI's ChatGPT, of course. I would say I'm just going to give you a few examples like YouTube, Netflix, and all these big social media platforms. They gained 1 million followers in time frame of days, whereas ChatGPT got 1 million followers in 5 days, which is insane. And how people adapted towards it. And the first thing was to, in an academic point of view, would be, hey, can you write me this essay, and then just paste it. So which would also look at the impact of Gen AI would be basically the way you use it, right? So if you're using it in the right way, which is kind of what prompt engineering is, like if you're using it in a right
Sure.
way to actually be productive for you, it would definitely increase your productivity, and it would definitely increase your intelligence as well, because you're not looking at things that are not so necessary for your work, but also like the non-essential part, but also something that is like paperwork or things like that. But when you look at it as just a tool to give you like quick answers, sure, it will help you, but you are not learning anything, basically.
Okay,
So
let me stop you for a sec because we want to move it around, right?
Yeah, but you know, it reminds me of, so my experience, does it make you smarter? So I was helping my 14-year-old granddaughter with her homework. And she had a picture that she had to analyze from 4 different design lenses. I didn't know how to help her. I went to ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT to inform me. And then we had a conversation about what these design elements are. So it made me smarter for that moment. And it also allowed me to help my granddaughter with her homework. Otherwise, I couldn't have helped her. So it's how you use the tool, right? And I think that's what Luke was saying as well. So, Amanda, or go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, go
So
ahead.
I just wanted to add one thing.
Yeah.
So as we saw earlier when I froze and I couldn't get my question out, I've become complacent, and maybe not on ChatGPT, but having meetings at home where I have notes on the side, I'm reading everything, I'm talking there. And the second that I was taken out of that environment, I went back to zero. So I was like, I couldn't get the thoughts out. I prepared for these. Amanda actually covered most of what I wanted to say a lot better than I did.
You're fine.
But when like when you use it too much or you get used to something, then you actually get a little bit complacent, and maybe you're not dumber, but you're not as efficient if you get too used to it. And ChatGPT, I have the same worry with myself or the younger generation coming up, is that when you reach that level of how smart ChatGPT is, you can't go any further than that.
Become dependent, is
Yeah.
what you're saying. Yes.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Amanda.
One of the things that I think we all must realize is that Gen AI can't be creative the same way that the human mind can be. And so what Gen AI has to offer is to take on the repetitive menial tasks that we engage in on a daily basis in our personal professional lives. And what that does is it frees up space for us to engage in critical and creative thinking, which will allow us to develop and grow our capacity in that area. So I don't think that it is going to challenge our intelligence. I think it is going to help us reshape how we think of intelligence and how we see our own intelligence, from being simply book smart and being able to repeat tasks over and over again, to really offer us the opportunity to tap into thoughts and ideas that we may not have had the time or the capacity to have done prior to.
You know, we're taking this conversation to a place that is wonderful in this kind of session, because we're getting to the top of the mountain where we can see the big picture, which is human and machine, and how that's going to impact us. So maybe we can stay there for a little bit, or do you want to
Oh, we'll see
stay?
if Tejas has anything to add to that, to the answer.
Human and machine. Yes.
I would actually say exactly what Lon is saying right now. Whether or not generative AI will increase human intelligence, that's pretty straightforward. Every new technology essentially increases human intelligence. So generative AI is not that different. Our utility of it would be. So the
Can I
idea
just
is
make sure we
always,
get that thought down? Because that is, are you saying that new technology increases human intelligence? Did I hear that correctly?
yes,
Yeah,
because
because there's a lot of fear and dystopian thinking today. And if you look at the world right now, it doesn't look so good. But if you go further and take the long range, what you're saying, Tejas, is that the new technologies, the new machines actually can increase our intelligence, not diminish us, right? That's pretty profound.
yes, again, it depends on the utility. So think of it this way. I try to keep a parallel to the academic setting. We started with a wheel. We created that wheel, and then we moved forward. We created a car out of it. Now we move forward. We created a self-driving car out of it. So the idea is pretty straightforward. If we know how to use generative AI, that's what research is. So from an academic setting, getting something which is very smart or which is very good is a stepping stone that we can build upon. So if our students and all of the public is able to use it well, they would be able to augment their existing intelligence, learn more ideas from it. I personally use it sometimes as an idea machine as well, because humans have a tendency to be very biased, and using tools like ChatGPT to get some new ideas and then put in your own ideas would essentially increase not only your own intelligence, but the entire group itself.
Good answer. Any other questions?
Let's see around
We've
each
got a
person.
couple questions here. Yeah.
And would you do me a favor and come up and come into the circle here, because then everybody can see you. Where it feels like we've got a class for people online. They'll see you, and that's great. So please go ahead, turn it on, and
And Mary's going to make sure you have a microphone.
Is it on?
yeah, okay, thanks. Excellent. What's your name?
My name's Kenny Bahadur.
Kenny?
Yeah.
Kenny, please go ahead. You can sit, you can stand, you can somersault, as long as ideas come out of your head. Okay, please.
So first off, I want to say thank you for holding this meeting today, because ultimately I learned a lot more than I could have learned by myself. So right now I'm a first semester finance student at Durham College. My question is, how do you take one expertise and another skill that you have and combine them into something unique that only you possess? I believe AI is a tool that I can use this to do. So how can I incorporate AI into this system?
Thank you, Kenny. Great question. You want Shane? You want to go for it?
I think Shane, you want to go take a shot at it, or does somebody else want to take a shot at that?
Oh, hold on a second. Would you like to?
No.
Okay, just a second. Let's see who's online. We're going to leave the cosmos as it is. There's a universe out there, but the planets are all colorful but quiet.
Amanda, you're in the
So I don't see
academic
any.
circles. Do you want to try to address it?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead, Amanda.
Go ahead,
Let's
try it.
stay in person
Yeah.
here. I think this
Yeah.
is where we get the best interaction. ahead.
That's a really fascinating question, and it's one that we actually I haven't encountered before. And if we go back to figuring out how we do anything with regards to perhaps an interest or a task that we're being tasked to do, and our level of knowledge or and expertise, the very first thing we need to do is a needs analysis. So what is it that I need something to do? What gap do I need it to fill? What task do I need it to complete? What role needs to happen? And so there are infinite Gen AI tools out there, and more seem to come on the market on an hourly basis. It's really difficult to keep up. And so understanding your needs in terms of your expertise or what it is that you're trying to accomplish will at least allow you to narrow down the type of Gen AI that you might want to explore to see if it's an opportunity. In some cases, if you're particularly entrepreneurial and innovative, maybe there isn't a tool out there, but you have the opportunity to create your own tool to marry together your knowledge and expertise and tasks that have to be completed. I'm not sure if that quite answers
So
your question.
Loop was talking about analytics too. So you're in finance, so analytics are going to be very important to your studies. So Loop, you were talking a bit about that within your field. Do you want to answer that question as well or add to it?
Sure. So
Sorry,
data,
Luke.
I think, can you hear me?
Yep.
Got it,
Yeah,
yeah.
good. You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Actually, that was a great question. And I believe that data is something that we use in our day-to-day lives, regardless of what work we do. We use data like how many like glasses of water I had in a day, and then just look at it in a way that am I hydrated enough? So it's like a small example, but if you know how to analyze data, it can give you great insights. So this is something that you can also use in merging that two fields as well. Like if you have correct data, you can analyze where you can use AI to support that or help you analyze that, basically. So I don't know if that answers the question, but that's my take on it. Like this is how data can help.
Thanks, Roop. Did you get an answer to your question? Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, but let's move it around. Would you like to
And
feel free?
direct your question to
Go
whom?
ahead.
I have a question for all the panelists.
Okay.
So there's been a lot of attention on the environmental cost of these AI tools. It's estimated that training a large language model like GPT-3 uses as much as 100 gigawatts of electricity, which is about 1,000 homes for a year, and that every 50 queries on ChatGPT uses the equivalent of about 500 milliliters of cooling water. What responsibilities and obligations do we have when we deploy these tools to the environment, and how do each of you consider the environmental consequences of the tools that you use?
So let's start with Shane, being that in the computer field. So definitely something you've probably considered.
Yeah. So when we're looking at the environmental impact of ChatGPT, we have to look at what the benefit is on what we're gaining from it. So right now there's a lot of people just using it for silly things, and it's fun and it's new and it's interesting. And we have to start thinking more, how do we bring that cost down? So, or that the environmental cost. So do we do that through enhancements in the actual models themselves? Can we make it more efficient? It's a hard question for myself because I haven't necessarily looked too much into the environmental impact. I'm much more on this is amazing new technology.
Yeah.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon, or well, at the jumping in head first, really. And then these are things we're trying to answer now. So I have heard that's something that we have to worry about, but it's a tough question for a single person to ask, and it's more of a question we have to ask like society itself.
But it's
It's
a
a g-
necessary question. I was just going to
Good start too, yeah.
What's your name? John. Yeah, and Kenny, good. I was just going to say that everything has to be seen through a sustainability lens today in our world, right? I mean, that's just adds to more complexity and more crazy things we got to think about. But so it's great that you bring that up, John. You know, the sustainability lens.
Let's see if Tejas has some additional information to
Okay.
what Shane added.
Is it Tejas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go, Tejas, you're on. We got you full screen. Go ahead. Yeah.
So that's a very good point to bring up. The sustainability itself is one of the major concerns, and just like Chin, we are more as computer scientists. Our first reaction to looking at a new technology is, oh, this is amazing, I want to try this. It's very rare that we actually look at the sustainability side of things, because those usually come in when things scale. And ChatGPT and generative AI has scaled so fast, so quickly, that it's one of the unaddressed challenges right now to deal with it. And what my thoughts on it would simply be, within time, this will be somewhat managed, simply because this is not really a problem with just generative AI. It's a problem generally in computation itself. Having blockchains or having supercomputers, having large analysis machines, all of these require a lot of power. And these power has to come from somewhere. And that's the main environmental impact that we have to look after. And what I'm happy to kind of add to it here is I've seen a lot of startups that work on this exact same problem. They understand, and because that's how our world works, if there is money in it, people tend to support it even more. And I have seen, because a lot of startups are supporting it, because the efficiencies that you get, the cost saving that you get by making these systems more efficient, more optimized, less energy intensive, or using renewable resources. These are a few things which are very good, not only for the environment, but also for the corporate world. So my only addition to it would be, within time, as we move more towards renewable resources to more sustainable computing, this problem will slowly diminish a little bit. But at the moment, yes, it's one of a major concern that currently I am sure a lot of experts are looking into.
Good answer, because you took it broader than just the chat. You talked about computerization, period, which I thought was a great answer. So, Roop, did you want to add anything to that, or Amanda, or do you feel we've got answered his
I think
question?
Ruth had her hand up anyway.
Okay, go ahead, Roop.
Go for it, Ruth.
I would like to add to that as well, in terms of how we could possibly use AI as a tool to research on these sustainability projects as well. AI could definitely be handy when it comes to analyzing environmental changes and analyzing those reports to find those areas where we could potentially bring about the change and where it would impact the most. So I think that would be a great use to combat that.
Great answer. Use the tool itself. Absolutely. So, we have another question here in the audience. And your name, please?
My name is Sarah.
Sarah? Your
Okay.
question to whom?
This is more so towards Amanda.
Okay.
So you mentioned that generative AI tools like ChatGPT are becoming an issue because you are unable to gauge a student's knowledge. Will the college attempt to limit this? And what can we expect to see from educational institutions to combat this? Do you think it's possible to implement an AI detector on the assignment submission Dropbox?
It's a very good question. Make me squirm in my seat.
John could answer it, but he's leaving, so he's off. He's off the hook. Okay.
So going back to thinking, first of all, around the Gen AI detectors, we know that there is contradictory research now. So new research has come out where on one side of it, it says that Gen AI detectors are highly unreliable in determining whether text has been written by a human or by a generative AI machine. For example, if we had an instance where somebody ran the same piece of work through 5 different Gen AI detectors, and it produced 5 different results that ranged anywhere from 5% likely to be written by Gen AI to 99% likely to be written by Gen AI, the exact same piece of writing. And now new research actually just came out last month indicating that if Gen AI detectors are used appropriately, they are more highly reliable than we think that we are. Currently, we have 2 primary detectors that are available, neither of which have proven to be reliable. And there are very broad, very profound implications for students if they are accused of using generative AI and completing an assessment where we actually don't have documented evidence that they did so. And so preserving our integrity in our institution as well as our students' knowledge and confidence is really important. And this is where we go the way of supporting our faculty in engaging in developing assessments that are different than what would have been done in the past. So stepping away from assessment or essays and moving into something that is more authentic in nature. So asking students to do something that mirrors what they would be required to do in their professional careers, for example. So we may get to a point with our assessment and evaluation strategies where drop boxes with AI detectors are not necessary because we're not asking students to produce something where we need them to have an input where we need to detect if they did something or not. And a really important piece for the centers that support faculty in this and students is that we need to move away from the idea of trying to catch students because that's not our job. We're not here,
Punish.
catch or punish. We're
Not
right.
punitive. Yeah.
And there's a lot of literature speaking about faculty apprehension because they're not police officers when it comes to stuff like this. So refocusing, again, the assessment strategies, focusing on the process, not the product, will allow us to reshape education as a whole and create a more interactive, engaging, authentic learning experience for students where things like GPT-0 or Turnitin's detector are not necessary for our students anymore.
Go ahead, use the mic, please.
It's important, Sarah. This, and I can tell you as a faculty member that it's on my mind a lot when I'm marking students' papers. And there's one thing I say to my students now, which is, do you want to speak in your own voice or somebody else's voice? Like when you speak, don't you want to speak in your own voice? Well, don't you want to write in your own voice? Why would you want to write in the voice of a machine? That sometimes works.
Because I might get an A.
That's right. No, if it's 2 a.m. and I'm having trouble figuring this out, it might. But Sarah, continue because you're touching a raw nerve here for all of us, which is important. So go ahead.
I just wanted to say that I don't think that would be possible for every course. There's some courses that rely on this sort of writing aspect. For instance, maybe a philosophy sort of course.
Absolutely. If we think about creative writing, for example, sociology, psychology, philosophy courses like you were just talking about, that's where we need to reshape what it is that we're expecting of the students. So and there's an added benefit to this. So we ask the students to focus on the product and the faculty, really looking at how they're arriving at their end product. The benefit of this is it creates more formative assessment opportunities for faculty to be able to interact with the students as they're developing those skills and really hone them in so that the final product in the end is actually even better than if they had the night before plugged in their question or their prompt into ChatGPT and had it spit out an essay on their behalf. And so we're getting the opportunity to shape what our students are learning, how they're learning it, in order to be able to create critical capacity to be able to fulfill the different steps that they need to take in order to get to that end product or that end result.
I promise this is the last comment.
It's fine.
But in regards to that, show your work aspect, adding that onto an assignment, I feel like that would make them a lot more extensive. It would probably clutter people's schedules.
I absolutely understand where you come from, and that's where we have to look at rejigging our evaluation plan, so we start to take those pieces of into consideration.
Thank you for that. Do any questions
Yeah, we've
online?
got
Any
basically
online or?
about
There's one-
10, 15 minutes left in our class. So
All right. So here's a question for them. Oh, you want to
Yeah.
add to that,
Just
Shane?
wanted
Go
to-
ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead, Shane.
This is more for Durham College, I guess, than anything. But normally, academic dishonesty is like you're pretty much cheating. You're taking somebody's work. You're doing something that when you get to the real world, that you won't be able to do as easily. But ChatGPT will
be fired.
exist. Yeah,
you might be charged.
exactly.
You know,
like,
you might go
there's
to
a lot
court.
there. But with ChatGPT, it's a real tool that will be used when you get out of here into a real job. So it should be, or at least any generative AI, not specifically ChatGPT, but it's good to see that it is being embraced in a way that you're actually using it, and it's a tool that could be the skill that's developed on the side of everyone, so that you have real world experience when you get out.
Thank you for that. Another question here?
Hi. So I absolutely love the world of education, although there is one thing that I noticed that I can't shake my
Karaoke,
head-
just so they can hear you, like close to your chin. Yeah,
Oh, like this?
yeah, perfect. Then everyone can hear you.
So I love the world of education, although there is one aspect of it that I just can't shake off my mind. In a course, in a program, on an assignment, there is this looming idea of a 100%, the perfect student, the ideal assignment, the excellent graduate. And when it comes to the real world, making a mistake is okay and it's unavoidable, whether intentional or not, at work, on the job, whether you're an accountant who needs to file something perfectly, it will still happen. So do you feel like in a small way the school system sets up students to have a fear of failure? Do you think that's an ethical course of action to have a looming almost threat for a student of 100% who's trying to achieve a GPA?
This is I would say from Durham College perspective, and colleges generally, that is not part of our vision for students. We want students to learn, to engage, to grow, to mature, to be successful in life. And yes, you have to make mistakes in order to be successful. So if you in your mind think that you have to be perfect, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. So it's not part of our philosophy of education at all. Yes, some students get top marks. Other students don't get top marks, but their success in the future is not determined on the grades that they receive in college or university.
Kenny,
It's what they learn and how they apply it is what it is. So
I remember Don sat in this chair a few years, because we've done a lot of these classes, and talked about his background in business once upon a time. You don't have to go into it now, but he goes through about failure, you know, and then what he
22 years old, I opened a menswear store. 29 years old, I went bankrupt. I lost my house, my car, and everything I owned in life. And I made a mistake, right? So you regroup, you rebuild your life, and you do it again. You make more mistakes. And in my 38 years in the college journey, I've made many, many mistakes. Just have to learn by them, keep on going. And I'd never, ever strive for perfection. I can't be perfect. Nobody can be. So it's a fun question.
But you're always
I do have a
learning from
question.
them.
I do have a question for our panel.
Yeah.
A fun question. So AI, generative AI. Take out your crystal ball. 5 years from now, what is your job going to look like? I'm going to go online first with Roop, and then we're going to go to Tejas, and then the two here. You get the questions? So take out that crystal ball and tell us what you can be doing in 5 years.
Am I starting?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Oh, you've got the ball, Roop. You've got it in your hand.
Okay, I am. Well, it's a really hard question in terms of predicting what it might look like, because again, it's just we're just starting to adapt to this technology, and workplaces are still cognizant of what we can use or cannot, because there's ethical reasons and things like that. So I would say for now, I think it's mostly focused on reducing repetitive work and more focused on creative side. So I would say definitely things like writing emails or cold calling or things like that might get automated. So you might just focus more on interactions and finding solutions, and you might even be using AI for that to come up with those solutions and just validate them. So yeah, for now I think it might just take over the more repetitive side of work, and we can focus more on creative side. But yes, it will be fun to see what it might look like.
Doing the things that you love to do at work, right? So Taya,
Absolutely.
So it's a very hard question to answer, especially when we don't even know how it would evolve within the next year, let alone 5. My thought process just says my work would be similar, somewhat similar, just in a different aspect. With the new technology, from what we have seen in the past, the jobs don't necessarily change. The end goal is still the same. The way you achieve it changes. So I have a feeling if I am, let's say, making a new mobile app, I would not have to code as much. I can just tell it what I want and it would make it for me, which it can do right now, but maybe a little bit better. And I think the main thing that I will, and most probably it applies to everyone, I think our way of expression will get better, because right now the biggest challenge that we have, at least in the field of computer science, it's very hard to understand for a computer scientist to actually understand what the business looks like or entertain a request from the business side of things. But with generative AI, with prompts being the ruler of the world, the way that you write things are important. And maybe that will kind of bridge the gap between having somebody in the middle who tries to convert things from business words to computing words, and then just kind of use your language a bit better, express yourself better. That's what usually we learn in computer science anyway, to express yourself very nuanced. If you want something, let's say if you have a certain yes or no answer, you ask it very accurately. And if you ask it wrong, you are introducing a bug. With generative AI, with prompts, I think that's how my job would again be like. I would just be the person who can teach people how to express themselves better this way.
thank you for that. Amanda, and then Shane. Quickly.
Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
Feel
5 minutes.
targeted. So in terms of education, I see Gen AI 5 years from now, Gen AI being teaching partners to our in-person faculty. And they will be collaborative, where we've got our faculty who are the creative and the Gen AI tool as being the, output, the more solid foundation, framework building aspect of it, the more technical piece. From an education perspective, I think we have a really amazing opportunity to embrace global education initiatives in a way that will actually allow students to express their learning and understanding and take in learning and understanding in a language that is most comfortable for them. So we've got, tools that will in real time translate languages between each other. We can take the opportunity to put complex concepts into ChatGPT and have it translated into a language for our students to understand, or have our students submit their work in their language that they're most comfortable with, and have ChatGPT translate it for us into a language that we understand in order to be able to figure out if our students are grasping what it is that they need to grasp. So I think it'll be a teaching partner for
That's wonderful. vision.
educators.
Shane, last word.
So I think it's going to make everything more efficient. Right now, even today, like if there's a small piece of work that I need done, I can go out, ask ChatGPT to do it, does it quickly. In the future, the works are going to be more and more complex. And as this technology matures, there's going to be third parties integrating it in different ways that we're not seeing coming. So it'll be integrated directly into our IDs. It'll be integrated directly into our workplace platforms, so like Google Suite or anything. And then when it's time to actually do the work, it's being heavily pushed forward by ChatGPT. So
Wonderful. So I want to take a minute before Lon wraps things up to thank our 4 panelists for your time today, for your thoughtfulness, for your vision, for your optimism. You did a wonderful job. I also want to thank Professor Lon Appleby for hosting these dialogues and our global classroom, and our Alumni Association, Mary Weller, where's Mary, who helped facilitate today. And this is an alumni event that we do on a regular basis. So love that. And also our Office for Research Services, Innovation, and Entrepreneurship. So, and to all of you, thank you for attending today. I think it's been a great discussion. I think we've all learned something. I know I have. So thank you. And Lon, final word to you, buddy.
Just a minute. I will say, come back to Stan Lee and remind us of that wonderful line, Excelsior and onward and upwards to greater glory. Maybe that glory is more freedom. Maybe what Amanda, Shane, and Roop and Tejas were getting at is that, 5 years from now, we might be even more liberated. Are we ready for that? But maybe the technology will allow us to be freer as humans. I think that's what Stan Lee was getting at. I would like to say finally, since this may be the last time that Dawn is here, I'd like to remind all of you that this is a president who comes into a class with students and talks about his life, and it's experiential. And this space is a high-tech space that we've created with him and the college. This is a great public institution, and I hope that all of you will look at this technology and all that we've done today as an example of what we can do with machines, with technology. Maybe they can make us smarter. If we really do use the machines well, we will move forwards to that Excelsior kind of idea. Those are my thoughts. Thank you, Dawn, as always. And is there anybody who's burning to say something? Otherwise, there is a recording of this class. It's in high definition. I'm using YouTube Studio. It looks great, so you can rewind, fast forward later, and keep the class going. Yeah, enjoy your afternoon. Thank you all for great. Take care. Okay. Excellent.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the live stream now. And
Have a great day to everyone.
thank you. I'm stopping the live stream. Thanks, Don. I'm going to do it over here in Toria, so I don't get messed up. Yeah, thank you. Okay, hold on a second. Let me just do this, and then I want to talk to you, Mary, because there's a few steps I have to do. Stop the live stream.